Okay, so let's get on to the phone lines now. We've been joined by Kwesi Kwarteng, who's spokesperson for the Education Ministry. We also have Jacob Anaba, who's Vice President, National Association of Graduate Teachers. We'll be joined shortly by Reverend Father Owusu Sekyere, who is President, Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. Good morning to you, Jacob Anaba. Good morning to you, Kwesi Kwarteng.
Winston, good morning.
Great.
Yeah, Winston, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us all. So let's start off with you, Kwesi Kwarteng. So we know that some 5 million Ghana cedis has been released to the ECG, true?
Can you come again? I did not hear you.
I'm saying that we've read reports that 5 million Ghana cedis has been released to ECG to offset debt owed by secondary schools, true?
Yes, 5 million Ghana cedis has been paid by the USA Secretariat to the Electricity Company of Ghana quite earlier. You have to situate it in the very right perspective. If you look at the arrangement that the Ministry of Education, or for that matter, the three SHS have with the Electricity Company of Ghana, at every point, you'll recall that we have a structured payment plan for utilities across all the senior high schools in the country. And so within this structured plan of payment, at every point, ECG submits bills. And of course, that is consolidated bills on quarterly basis, and they are processed and paid from the end of the Ministry of Education. And so the last bill that we received from the Electricity Company of Ghana was in respect to the third quarter of last year. Of course, let you see the final quarter. But of course, 5 million to the effect that to the payments in regards to the third quarter of last year. But of course, it's certainly a postpaid agreement, always outstanding arrears that at every point the Ministry of Education or the three SHS Secretariat will have to clear. And then that, based on the last quarter, was around a region of 5.6 million Ghana cedis. So, I mean, clearly, you have to understand this and then emphasize that if bills are settled collectively and not on individual basis, logically, any disconnection should rather affect all schools, not just selective schools. Because on what basis would, for instance, Accra Academy alone owe around 480,000, whilst the entire outstanding arrears for over all the 900 schools is in the region of 5.6 million Ghana cedis? I mean, what is the criteria of credit?
Are you doubting the bill put out by the ECG?
No, I am not doubting, but I mean, reasonably, if payment is made en masse to settle arrears of a consolidated bill, the expectation was that even if you are making any crediting to that effect, it's done en masse or it's done.
Kwesi, I mean, just before you continue, Kwesi, just before you continue, ECG says, following the disconnection, a release has been made, and a decision has been taken to have a meeting today, Wednesday, to look at the way forward. So, why are you telling us today that there's always been a plan when ECG is telling us you are now going to sit down in a meeting and that you still owe them, you're not going to sit down in a meeting and have discussions on the way forward?
So far as I'm concerned, even this payment was made quite earlier. I mean, that is the briefing I have from my boss, the minister.
The ECG says yesterday.
I am unable to confirm that. I mean, most important, and even if that is the case, is that payment has been made. Because, you see, the point is that it couldn't have been yesterday if you look at the explanation that I've offered earlier. Because, I mean, practically, you have a structured plan where bills are submitted on quarterly basis. And the last bill that we received was in regards to the third quarter. The briefing I have from my bosses is that payments were made in the early part of January, which was around a region of 5 million cedis, paid through a check. And so with regards to, of course, any subsequent or consequential meetings, at every point we have been meeting. Obviously, we met before we were able to even reconcile and get the powers connected. But you see, the most important thing...
Yeah, but before you go on, just hold on 1 minute. ECG, when we spoke to them yesterday, indicated that the last time payment was made on behalf of Accra Academy, for instance, was in June last year. So the debt is from the third quarter. You are saying you've made releases for the third quarter. They say the debt is from the third quarter. Two.
So
hold on, Kwesi. Once I'm done, you'd come in. Two, we know that the Accra Technical Training Center itself also suffered non-payment. They were disconnected 2 months, payment made 2 weeks ago, and then the electricity restored. Go ahead.
If you had allowed me to land, maybe I'm sure this question may not even come up, because the point is that based on the structured payment plan that we have for the payment of utilities, it is across all schools. Payment is not made in respect of individual schools. We've never done that before, and I'm sure ECG can confirm. Of course, if it is at their own level in terms of for purpose of crediting, that they may elect to say that, well, they are crediting A amount to A school or B amount to a particular school. That is at their own level. But I'm saying that on what basis will you take money collectively as a consolidated amount based on your own invoices or your own payment bills that you brought, and then a payment is made to that effect, and then you say that Accra Academy owes A amount or B amount? That's what I'm saying, that per the extension of that logic, then it stands to that all schools should have equally also been distributed. It is the reason why I was saying that one can then suggest that there is indeed a potential discrepancy between the ECG headquarters where payments are made and these local operation units which is responsible for the district. Because I don't see the reason why I will come and pay for, say, 900 schools, A amount, and then you specifically isolate one school at your local level and say that I'm going to disconnect, while the payment was not done on local basis. We've never done that before. We have never done that before. All payments are paid en masse, because in terms of the bills that we receive them on consolidated basis from the Electricity Company of Ghana, from their headquarters. I mean, so that explanation will not stand, and maybe ECG will have to clarify what they mean by payment was made for Accra Academy and it was restored. Payment was never made for Accra Academy. We don't.
Well, the ECG said payment was made for the schools, so they've not said for Accra Academy.
Payment has always been made.
But yesterday, when we spoke to the external relations manager of ECG, she made it very clear that the Accra West Region, where Accra Academy falls, now when they were going for their revenue mobilization, realized that no payments has been made on behalf of the school since July, since the third quarter 2023, and that's why they disconnected. She was very categorical that hold on. She was very categorical that it's either the ministry makes a pledge to pay, or the school would find some money, pay 50%. So that's why the disconnection took place. Yes.
I think we are even at the same page, because the point is that I emphasize the point that you can see a potential discrepancy between ECG headquarters, where the payments are made, and these local operations units. Because we don't pay, payments are not made on school basis. Indeed, schools don't even make payments. You are aware of the free SHS, the arrangement, especially when you look at the financial inflows of the free SHS program. Payments are not made by the schools themselves with regards to bills. They are paid at the national level. So it cannot be true and it can never be accurate again. That, for instance, they went to Accra Academy, and for them, in terms of the last payment that they made was due. What it suggests is that between ECG at their national level and their local level, when payment was made by Ministry of Education, the necessary crediting was not done to that effect, so that the Accra main or whatever Accra suburb, or I don't know the term you use,
Accra West.
The look at the Accra West department do not have the records of payment, because I am telling you that as of now, based on the third quarter bills that we received, we paid 5 million, and the final commitment there to make was 5.6 million Ghana cedis. On what basis?
So, just by way of clarification, that's for schools on postpaid.
But at the SHS level, their schools are postpaid basis.
Well, funds is on a prepaid. I've heard the headmaster say that they're on a prepaid.
So, but if a school is on prepaid, then definitely it can't be within this arrangement.
Exactly, and so the arrangement you talk about.
Can I land? You ask a question.
Okay,
you
go
don't
ahead.
Let me to land. No, I'm saying that if a school is on prepaid, what it means is that the school will have to procure the whatever how do you call it, the electricity before consumption. In this case, we are talking about a debt owed to ECG, and such debt reasonably cannot come from a postpaid arrangement. So I think we should get the distinction clear and stick to the narrative that we are giving.
Great, Kwesi. So we've gotten the distinction, but just by way of, when you say, but you should know that there are schools that are on prepaid, right?
Winston,
Yes,
what is
Kwesi.
most important? What is most important is that I have made the point that in terms of payment, we do not pay based on individual schools. We receive a consolidated amount and we pay.
So for the schools on prepaid, how do you
I'm
pay
saying
them?
that, I'm saying that in terms of why are you also introducing new facts? Because based on the facts available, right? So far as you are concerned, Accra Academy is a postpaid institution, and so we receive the whole composite of the bill covering all institutions. I mean, to be fair, if we are citing, for instance, in France, the same as a prepaid school, it doesn't fall under this arrangement, because within prepaid arrangement, what it means is that you have to purchase your credit or electricity before you use. But the conversation has been narrowed, and the facts are very clear that when it comes to Accra Academy, and for that matter, institutions within the sectors like this, we don't pay based on individual schools. We take consolidated amount from them and settle them based on the payment plan that we have. So, I mean, how could we have paid bills for all schools, and then one school alone owes around 480,000 Ghana cedis? I mean, per the extension of that logic, then it means that we are paying for just about 11 or 12 schools if we want to use the 480,000 as a flat rate, which is not possible.
All
you
right.
want to admit the narrative by the ECG, but my narrative is being difficult, because you see, the point is that why are we not also admitting the fact that clearly it could also be a discrepancy in terms of their own accounting models and structures, where payments have been made at the national level, at the local level, not aware. And that is what we are witness for.
All right. Kwesi, understood. I want us to expand the conversation further, because we know that there are other schools that are also on prepaid. So the clarification is, how many schools are on postpaid, how many schools are on prepaid, and what's the arrangement for the schools on prepaid?
Okay, thank you. As of now, I will have to get a full briefing with regards to the exact numbers. I am unable to mention, let's say, for a figure with respect to a school being postpaid or prepaid. But you see, the point is that it's even a non-issue. What am I saying is a non-issue? It's a non-issue because even if there are 10 schools on postpaid, that is where the conversation is. Prepaid can never be an issue of contention, because in that case, reasonably, you have to get your electricity before you use. So if somebody is saying that you owe me a amount, it presupposes that it's a postpaid, and that conversation
is set out very clearly.
Yeah, Kwesi, we get that. We get that very clearly. I think the issue of the prepaid is also coming up because not too long ago, Infantipim headmaster during their speech, they also talked about the fact that they were off because they couldn't purchase electricity. So we want to know the sort of arrangements that you have so that we don't have a school that will go off because they couldn't get the disbursement, the monies from headquarters, so they could pay their electricity bills. I think that's why we're raising this question so that we can get clarity.
Per the briefing that I have, I know that payments of bills are made at the national level. How do you call it? On the consolidated basis.
Okay.
But of course, with regards to the specific issue that you raised, in relation to Infantipim, I'll get a briefing for you and speak to you accordingly on that.
Okay, so let's talk about the debt owed ECG currently. What's the amount?
So, like I said, the conversation always has to be put in a very right context. And the context is that, as of now, as I speak with you, the Electricity Company of Ghana is yet to submit even bills. And when I say bills, I'm talking about the consolidated bills for the fourth quarter of last year. What we have is with regards to the third quarter of last year. And that one, an amount of 5 million Ghana cedis has already been paid with outstanding arrears of 5.6 million Ghana cedis. And like I indicated, is a government agency to government agency arrangement. At every point, you will get these consolidated bills, of course, based on the inflows that is also coming from Ministry of Finance and Controller. You make some funds available to whatever institution that you owe, and that has always been the system, particularly when the use of this is on postpaid basis. So at every point there are arrears, but I can only confirm that of the third quarter because that is what officially we have received from the Electricity Company of Ghana.
Right.
And we are working with them to receive the final quarter so that we can do the necessary accounting of financial reconciliations and make the subsequent payments accordingly.
Okay, so as we speak, you owe ECG 5.6 million Ghana cedis.
Based on the third quarter payment that they submitted, the bill that we owe as we speak, that is arrangements, based on arrangement that we have, that is the amount that is owed to the ECG.
Right.
But you see, to be fair, it should be more than that because ECG has not submitted that of the fourth quarter. So to be fair, I would say that we've used amounts that as of now has not been brought to our attention.
Yeah, that's clear because they haven't even submitted a bill for quarter four.
Yeah, sure.
Let me bring in Jacob Anaba, who is Vice President of NAGRAT. Jacob Anaba, thank you very much for staying with us. And I know for as teachers in these schools, you experience some of these situations. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you, Winston, and good morning to your listeners. And good morning to Kwarteng, Mr. Kwarteng. I'm surprised Mr. Kwarteng is talking about a localized payment because I believe that ECG must have a central pool where whenever we pay electricity as customers, they are able to verify that wherever you are found, you have paid your bill. So whether it is a school A in the Western region or school B in the Northern region, the central pool must be able to detect whether a school has paid its bill. Apart from that, the ministry is supposed to budget for all this expenditure. So the budget that was made last year for the payment of electricity, what happened to it? That we are owing third quarter and then fourth quarter. As we speak, a number of schools have been reported to have been disconnected in the Brong-Ahafo region. Not only electricity, but water. So it is a serious issue.
The headmasters, unfortunately, region have been
cannot speak to it for fear of being victimized. Mm-hmm. But they are suffering. And as you rightly asked, some schools are on prepaid. What is the arrangement? Because if, as we speak, you have not paid third quarter and fourth quarter, those who are on prepaid, how are they able to manage? It is a real and difficult situation for management of schools. So without electricity, the school comes to a halt. Almost all the schools have their program or the school timetable program into an automated alarm system. So if there is no electricity, almost everything comes to a halt. Their water is connected to electricity where they pump into tanks overhead, and then they are supplied to the various dormitories for students to take their bath and wash. If there is no electricity, you see that classes is disrupted. A whole lot of things happens when there is no electricity. The ministry has not been proactive. For us to be owing to the third quarter and fourth quarter, we are not even talking about this year. Then there is a serious role. I will urge Parliament to invite the minister to Parliament to explain to the Ghanaian populace what is actually happening for us to get understanding.
Now, you talked about a number of schools in the Bronga Hafu being disconnected. How many schools are we looking at here?
In fact, I don't have the figure. The secretary to the CHAS conference gave me that information. I don't have the actual numbers, but I can make that available in the course of the day.
Exactly, and so these schools do not have electricity as we speak.
Yes, that is my information.
Well, because of purposes of the new regions, we have Bono East, Bono Ahafo. And so these schools that you're talking about, do you know the regions they're in? Or they're... Yes.
I thought you said the president of CHAS will be with us.
Yes, we're still trying to get him.
It will be good you get him. He will be able to give you this information.
Sure.
But I will also verify later. I can supply the actual information.
Okay, so let's get back onto the phone lines now. Let's continue the conversation. And we're told that Reverend Father Owusu Sekyere, who is president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, has joined us now. Reverend Father Owusu Sekyere, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Great. So tell us the situation with electricity in the secondary schools. Yesterday we were talking about Accra Academy, we were talking about the Accra Technical Training Center. But the Vice President of NAGRAT has just talked about how the situation could be in other schools. You are the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. What's the situation in our secondary schools when it comes to electricity?
Your voice, my brother, is a bit faint. I can't hear you properly.
Okay, is it better now?
Your voice is somehow.
Is it better now, Reverend Father?
Yes.
Great. So I was asking you.
I hope I heard you say you want me to speak to the situation.
Yes.
Of electricity in the senior high school. Is that what you said?
Exactly. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you very much for having me this morning. For some time now, let's say since we entered 2024, I have not heard of any disconnection until yesterday. I got to know that Accra Academy had been disconnected. But before, in 2023, we had experiences of ECG going around to disconnect some schools. And when it happened that way, we had to call the Director General. And then, personally, I spoke with the minister, and certain things were done, and some monies were paid to them, and they stopped. I think that is what they want to start again. I am of the belief that ECG knows very well that the heads of these schools are not the ones to settle the bills. The bills are settled by the Ghana Education Service, because we work directly under Ghana Education Service. So ECG knows very well that the bills are supposed to be settled by the Director General. So if you come to me with about 4,000 students on campus, 3,000 students on campus, and then you disconnect, you must know that what you are doing is a recipe for chaos, because if you disconnect and in the evening, students don't know what to do. Some of them may try to go out. Some of them, a whole lot will happen on campus. So they should know that when you enter a senior high school, more or less, it's a security zone. So some of these things, my advice is that they should go meet with the GS and the ministry so that these things will be settled once and for all. As a matter of fact, yesterday in the night, I spoke with the minister and he promised that, yes, they have paid them something, but he is of the belief that some payments that were made, they did not really make sure that the schools involved were taken care of. So they think that when they make the payment in bulk, they don't really credit the accounts of the various schools. But he has promised that yes, they owe them something, and he's going to pay the rest today. That's what I was told by the minister yesterday. But I want to plead with ECG that moving forward, disconnections in the school, since we are not the ones paying, should stop, because if they do, it is not going to augur well for the schools, the regions, and the country as a whole.
Reverend Father, just by way of clarification, you said that when you spoke to the minister, he said, yes, they owe, and he believes that the payments that were made did not cover some of the schools that have been disconnected. Did I hear?
No, I'm not saying it didn't cover some of the schools. He said that when a payment is made in bulk like that, for example, you pick Opoku school, you read the meters in the schools, and then you send them to the those concerned to make the payment. The money is released in bulk. So when it happens that way, you have to also now come to credit the accounts with you in your outfit or the various schools, so that if I owe about, let's say, 20,000 Ghana cedis, and maybe 10,000 is paid, you should credit me so that the rest will be 10,000 that I owe. So it's not like nothing has.
Okay.
So I want to believe that yes, we owe, but they should go to the ministry and resolve it. That's why the minister told me yesterday that he's going to make sure that, because I was telling him that the money must be paid so that we will be comfortable in our schools. We cannot live in a school where when students are about to go to the classroom in the evening, the power goes off. Or you wake up in the morning, you come to your office, there's no power to work. See, we have entered examinations, and some schools are trying to make sure that examinations are conducted for schools. School management is working in the offices. People are coming for their transcripts and all that. So we cannot stay in the school without power. And we don't have, so many schools don't have. It means every activity, and it will not go well for us as a country. So that must be solved as a matter of fact, and as soon as possible.
Reverend Father, my name is Mama V. I know that not all the schools are on postpaid. We've been trying to understand the situation with the prepaid schools as well, because not too long ago, and I don't know if you would remember, the Infantsipim headmaster during their speech day talked about the fact that they were disconnected and they didn't have enough money to buy electricity. So we're wondering how such schools are also surviving.
Yes, we have also been speaking to that, and we have also complained about that to the Director General. And what we were told was that the schools must admit their needs so that the money will be sent to them to buy whatever that they are supposed to buy. It has been a difficulty, I must say, those who have been using prepaid. But in a final analysis, what we were told was that ECG was going to be impressed upon to change all those prepaid meters to postpaid, because if you go and fix the prepaid meter on my assembly hall or dining hall or dormitory block or classroom, it is not going to help. Because, for example, in assembly hall, we're having entertainment, and then, or we're having a program. You wouldn't know that everything will be disconnected. You can't continue. So we were of the view that all prepaid meters in schools, except maybe master's bungalows, the rest must be changed to postpaid, so that we use and then we go and pay. Other than that, the prepaid meters are not good for us. And I know that ECG understood, and in some schools, they came to change. When I was at St. Hubert Seminary Senior High School, they brought prepaid. When I spoke about it, they came and changed them to postpaid. And I think that is what we were promised. It is not done. We keep on speaking to them, so they will go and change those prepaid meters to postpaid, especially on certain facilities on campus.
But for now, Reverend Father, can you assure us that schools on prepaid are able to purchase electricity?
No, I cannot assure you, because it's still difficulty that my brothers and sisters using those ones are going through, because the money may not come on time, and you wouldn't know how to go and buy before the money will come to you. So we, as managers, try to manage the situation, but at times it becomes so difficult for you to do, because there's no other source of income for you to do that. So we have been talking to management to press upon ECG to change those prepaid meters to postpaid. So I cannot assure you that we really can buy or purchase the power using prepaid meters. It is very difficult. That's why I said that we have been speaking with management to change those prepaid meters to postpaid.
Right. And Reverend Father, just this morning we're learning through NAGRAT that there are some schools in Bono Ahafo who have also been disconnected. Has that come to your attention?
As a matter of fact, I was out of jurisdiction. I arrived just about 5 days ago, and I have not heard anything like that from the regional chair of Bono.
Okay, just hold on.
I think it is true. They have not called me to tell me about this. I'm going to cross-check. As I told you, last year, it really happened in those regions, and we tried to resolve it. In fact, in some instances, in some schools, because the power went off, they relied on boreholes, and because there was no power, water was very, 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 very scarce in those schools. So, say that it's not true. It's true because I don't think my brother will just say something that is not true. So, we will try to speak to management and make sure those ones are also resolved.
Please hold on, Reverend Father, because Grace Garshon is Manager of Communications at ECG. Grace, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing very well, except that we're concerned about, some of our secondary schools being disconnected because they owe ECG, particularly when the Ministry of Education says they have a plan with you, that you submit bills to them. And the last bill you submitted is the third quarter bill. So why do you turn around and disconnect schools when you have not been submitting the bills?
We have been submitting those, and we are doing an exercise. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I'm saying that we are supposed to collect our debt. Yeah, so it's an exercise that we are doing throughout our operational activities. So it's not just the schools. We are doing an exercise. So whoever is owing us, any institution, any individual, we will disconnect you so that you come and pay.
Yeah, but these bills are supposed to be sent to the ministries. I mean, it's sent to the Free SHS Secretariat.
The Free SHS.
Free SHS Secretariat. So why would you go and disconnect a particular school when all bills are supposed to be sent to to the Secretariat?
Yeah, we have been sending the bills to the Secretariat. Mm-hmm. And if we do not disconnect, how are we going to get our money?
How often do you send the bill? So when was the last time you sent a bill to the Secretariat?
The last time we sent a bill, okay, so let's say they paid us something around January, which was 5 million.
5 million.
And this 5 million is less than whatever they are owing. when the money came, we had to distribute into the various accounts, at least to lessen the debt that they are owing. I'm sure it's because of Accra Academy that
exactly. I want to understand something. When you say various accounts, now is it a case? So do you operate one account for secondary schools, or you operate separate accounts for secondary schools?
Every school has its account. But you see, the bill goes to the secretariat because it's the secretariat that pays the bills.
Good. So when the money is released to you, how do you use it to offset the debts owed by the schools?
You know, already we have spoken to them, and they will say that we are sending this money, which they did in January, the last time. So definitely we have to offset some of the debts.
Okay.
But it cannot offset every debt.
So is it the case that you use you could offset the debt of certain schools and have other schools still owing you?
Definitely it will be certain schools. It can't be all the schools. Because the money wasn't enough to offset every debt that they are owing.
How much do they owe? Do the schools owe currently?
Currently, I don't have the figure with me now. I don't have the figure with me. But I'll definitely get it for you.
Okay.
This conversation is not ending now, so I'll definitely get it for you.
But I'm curious, Grace, how do you determine which schools account to credit?
Okay, so let's say let's put it this way. Maybe if I talk about the disconnection radar, we have districts. So it depends on where the task force is, and then those they will disconnect. And it's not only schools. Do you get it? So it's not like we just say, oh, let's go to this school and then go and disconnect them. The last time the task force was at Kanishi district, which Accra Academy is under. So they were owing and we disconnected them.
I understand that. You know, the ministry explains to us that they pay as, you know, it's a consolidated figure that they pay. So I'm just curious which school you decide to credit. Do you understand what I mean? So that because if the secretariat has paid 5 million, for instance, do you say, okay, Aquinas, I am offsetting what Aquinas owes, and then Accra Academy will be outstanding? I'm just trying to understand the criteria that ECG uses in determining that.
We can offset a particular bill. We can decide that let's offset a little here, a little there, so that it will lessen the debt that the various schools are owing.
But Grace, is that not problematic since you're operating on a consolidated amount? This is how much secondary schools owe you, and releases are made, and then you decide which schools to credit and other schools would owe.
Well, I can say that there can be an agreement with the secretariat that maybe offset this place a little, and then we are good to go. It's all about the conversation that we have with the secretariat.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring in Kwesi Kwarteng. Kwesi, you wanted to make a point earlier.
I'm a bit surprised, and I think most importantly, Vivian asked all the relevant questions because Winston, why will you submit a consolidated bill? Part payment is made to that effect, and then you elect to credit individual institutions. Whilst in real terms, when you were submitting the bill, you didn't submit them in individual institutions. For instance, multimedia operates a number of its, media outlets. You submit the bill as a consolidation, multimedia goes and pays, for instance, based on the arrangement you have with ECG. And then ECG walks in and says that I'm going to shut down Adam. For God's sake, I find that very intriguing. Because, my mom asked, what would then be the criteria for crediting? Because per extension of the logic that the ECG is advancing now, then they should have disconnected all institutions in Ghana, all senior high schools in Ghana. Of course, we are not running away from the fact that at every point we owe them. It is the more reason why we do have a payment plan between us and them, and a very structured payment plan. we are never shying away from the responsibility that they are arrears. Because even the arrangement itself, I mean, the postpaid arrangement, at every point there is arrest. Because you have to consume the electricity before you pay. And so even if at some point ECG feels that, well, a certain commitment ought to be made, you don't isolate an institution and go and say, I'm disconnecting them. It is the more reason why I'm saying that clearly. If you look at the explanation that the ECG has offered, just opposing with the explanation that Ministry of Education has also offered, one can clearly deduce that there is a potential discrepancy between ECG, their national level, and their local operational units, to the extent that Accra Main or Accra Sub-Metro, Accra West will feel that, well, they owe us a amount, without making reconciliation and recourse to what has been paid nationally as on consolidated basis. And for that matter, if they are embarking on the disconnection exercise, they go and disconnect institutions within their space. I mean, things cannot work like that. Things cannot work like that. But
please, can I make a point here?
Yes, is that Jacob Anaba?
No, I think
no, this Father.
Because when Jacob was speaking, I also had points.
Hold on. Yes, Father, please hold on. Yes, Kwesi, just make your point.
I am landing.
Go ahead.
Again, I mean, just a quick bite on what Jacob said. I mean, Jacob made wild claims, wild allegations about schools in Bono having been disconnected from the national grid for non-payment. I mean, for me, this is just a concern. I believe that NAGRAT is a very responsible institution. You don't make claims on station joy, which has a national cap without verifying it. And I mean,
so Kwesi, we are verifying the claims. We're checking. The team is checking.
You did not make the claims.
Yes.
Is a responsible institution.
We are verifying the claims. We'll get, and we'll put every information out.
But come to think of it, why would NAGRAT even make a claim of such nature without even verifying?
Hold on a minute.
But
Kwesi,
I'm landing.
Go ahead.
Can I land?
Yes, go ahead and land.
Can I land? I mean, he also made a point about the fact that we've still not made payment for the fourth quarter, and we are even still owing for the third quarter. I think that is what I earlier on submitted, that we have a payment plan with them. If we talk about payment plan, it means that you have a specific arrangement upon which you pay. How do we even pay fourth quarter whilst those bills have not been submitted? So I believe that we should not be hasting to conclude and run a blame game.
Okay.
Conversations like this should be had very dispassionately and forward-looking, so that we should be able to resolve it. But finally, I think I've had some information from the Fraser Secretariat with regards to the prepaid arrangement. The prepaid arrangement, the briefing I have is that at every point, schools submit their bills, and then monies are allocated to them for them to pay accordingly. So that is also with regards to the prepaid arrangement.
Okay, we'll get back to that arrangement because Reverend Father wants to make a point.
Yes, Father, can I make a point?
Please go ahead, Reverend Father.
Thank you very much. Let me begin from what Mr. Kwesi just said about prepaid. Yes, my brother, this is what you have been told all this while. But the issue is that where would the school get the money to buy them? They are appealing to ECG that they should change those prepaid meters to postpaid, because that is what will help the schools. And we are seriously passionate about that request, because it's not comfortable at all. If SHS ask me, the headmaster of school, to buy the power, then count my money, the money when it will come is not difficult to get. And I know they understand what I'm talking about. So that arrangement is not helping the schools. So that arrangement is there, but it's not working properly. So we are appealing to them that ECG should change those meters to postpaid meters. That will help the schools. Again, there should be an arrangement where ECG coming to my school will show me, evidence of payment, or when payment is made, Okukua School, I should see my account, maybe receipt of payment and how much I owe. You can't just walk into my school and say, I owe 400,000 Ghana cedis, so you are coming to disconnect. Meanwhile, the minister had already told me money has been sent to you. So how much of the money was paid into my account? And how much am I owing ECG? Because if you put a school in the dark and we don't know what is happening up there, and ECG comes to what to do. Along the way, every point in time, that this is how much has been paid into your account, and this is how much you are owing. So I sit here, I don't know how much I'm owing. I'm just using the power. So ECG comes one day and says, I'm going to disconnect. We are going to disconnect you because you're owing ECG. I'm powerless. I don't have anything to prove whether I owe or not. So we are of the view that ECG, Ministry, GES, should at any point in time inform us about what is happening between them and ECG so that we will be able to defend ourselves when they come to disconnect. I cannot say that they should stop disconnecting me. I can't force them to disconnect because it's an institution. They're also looking for, trying to get their money.
All right.
So the arrangement for prepaid meters is not helping. I must be frank. It's not helping at all. Arrangement must be abolished, and postpaid meters must be installed in the schools. Again, we should be given evidence of payment so that we can use it to show those who are sent to disconnect so that they will not also go ahead to disconnect the schools. Otherwise, we are helpless as heads. That's the point I want to make.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Father. Let me just, let's wrap up the conversation. Jacob Anaba.
Listen.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I want to supply my reliable source that I provided earlier. That some schools in the Bono region, specifically Susek and St. James, suffered the cut
this year.
So that is a source I'm providing.
They suffered the cut this year.
Yes.
When?
Oh, please, it is within this period. You can verify from the school.
I will verify. The team is working on it. So you've mentioned the schools, Susek and St. James. There are some old students of St. James who are part of the team, so they would verify that immediately. But we need to be wrapping up now.
Okay.
Grace Garshon. Grace, so going forward, what are you going to do to ensure that this whole system of you crediting schools and not crediting others is changed so that if payments are made, it goes to offset the debt and we never go back to the disconnection of schools?
Hello?
Hello, Grace.
Oh, okay, I'm online now.
Yeah, so I was asking, now that you've told us that, when monies are paid to you, you have a way of crediting schools. The point is, how are you going to ensure going forward that when monies are released to you, part payments are released, you're able to credit all schools and not go back to disconnecting schools because you say when the monies were released, your account was not credited?
I think we didn't get me right the first time. What I said was, when we get the part payment, any amount that comes, we distribute to the various schools. But what I added was that the amount that came wasn't enough to clear all the debts. So even after the last one we did, so the schools are owing. Yeah.
Okay, and you say you'll check that amount and get back to us. So we'll be waiting for that. We would also check that amount. Thank you very much, Grace Garshon. Thank you, Kwesi Kwarteng. Thank you very much, Reverend Father Owusu Sekyere, for joining us.